Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Wednesday, October the 4th, 2017. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Special Wednesday episode here coming at you. Obviously, a lot of people were probably wondering why we made the schedule adjustment yesterday. And I'll get into that, explain what our thought process was there. It wasn't what you think, although partially it was. But first, obviously off the top of the show, it's been a rough couple days. Obviously, there's been another horrible tragedy that's taken place. And as we've over the years, as we've talked about, whenever one of these senseless tragedies happen, it's never easy to talk about. And it's never easy when we're going to do a show about things that are not nearly as important. It's hard. It's hard to come on the air. It's hard to, especially if you were doing a show like this on Monday, right after it happened. It's hard to, go about your business and try to be entertaining, try to just, smile, laugh, have a little bit of fun. It's hard because there's a lot of people in pain. There's a lot of people, that have lost loved ones. It's not something. It doesn't. Oftentimes it feels inappropriate. Oftentimes it just doesn't feel good to do it. And so it's hard. And one of the things you probably heard a lot over the last few days is thoughts and prayers aren't enough, and in a lot of ways they're not. And that's what we'll say. Obviously, we want to extend our thoughts and prayers and our condolences, and because that is the truth. That's what we all feel. We want to do that, and we feel like we can't do anything else. And we can. We certainly can. Donate blood. We certainly can. Donate money, volunteer, whatever. There's a lot of things that we can do, and I don't want to get into politics. I don't want to get into all that because I try to keep that out of the show. I really, really do, because there's enough of that. We don't need it right now. It's just not something. It's being done elsewhere. So why do it here? You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get into the politics of it all. Obviously, there's a lot that people feel that we can do there, and that's fine. So, I don't have an issue with that, but I don't want to talk about that here. What I want to talk about is some of the other things that you can do. Like I said, donating blood, donating your time, donate to the Red Cross. There's a lot of things you can do. So, if you feel so inclined, or if you want to, or I would encourage you, not even feel so inclined, if you could, please do any of those things. Donate blood, donate your time, donate money. If there's a way that you feel you can help, please do that. That's great. Please do. But it's like I said, it's not easy. And I wish that these things would stop. These horrible tragedies would stop. I wish that, we wouldn't have to start and not just from a selfish standpoint of like, well, I don't want to start the show with this, no, I want it to stop just because it's so senseless. So many people are in pain. It's just something that you just don't want to hear about anymore. You just you hate that it keeps happening. You hate that people keep getting, killed senselessly, and these things keep happening in our country and our world. It's sad. It's just very, very sad, and it just needs to stop. And you keep hoping and pray, and you can't stop hoping and praying that it stops. You can't. It can get easy. It can be easy to just say, you know what, it's just the way the world is, and give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep hoping, keep praying, do what you can do to help make the world better, to help people in need, to help those impacted by these tragedies. Do what you can, and just keep hoping and praying that it gets better. And again, I'm trying to leave the politics out of it because I just don't feel it's necessary. But, if you feel like you want to, whatever the case may be, whatever you think you can do to help and make this better, make this everything better, or bring about more kindness, and whatever you can do, do it. Just and because again, these times you want people to band together, and you've seen that, and you want people to help one another, and you've seen that too, and that's good to see. And it reminds you that there's still a lot of good in this world, and there's still a lot of good people in this world. It just doesn't get as much attention as the bad. So again, if you can donate money, if you can donate your time, if you can help out in any way, please do. Because whether it's those impacted by the hurricanes and the earthquakes and wildfires and all the other natural disasters that have taken place, or if it's those in Las Vegas that are really suffering right now, whatever you can do to help, please do. And obviously, like I said, even though at this point we've all been talking that it isn't enough in a lot of ways, but even still, we do want to express our thoughts and our prayers to all those in Las Vegas that were affected by this tragedy. To those that have died, again, may they rest in peace. And again, our condolences to their loved ones, their families, and to all those in some other way impacted. Our thoughts are with you, and Puerto Rico as well. Our thoughts are with you. It's just been surreal these last couple of weeks, and so hopefully, let's hope and pray it gets better. Let's hope and pray that these things stop. And let's keep hoping for a better world, because there is a lot of good people still out there. We've seen that in times of need. We've seen that there's a lot of a goodness still in the world, a lot of kindness still in the world. And, my suggestion to people is just keep heart in that, and don't give up, and do what you can to help make this world a better place. That's what I would say to everybody out there. Be selfless, be giving, be kind, and do what you can to make this world better. That's the best thing I can say. So I wanted to start off with that. And obviously, we're going to do a show here. And everything that we're about to do is going to be so much more trivial and mundane and just not as important as what we just talked about. But, we're going to do it. We're going to try to, that we do these things, those of us that do shows like this, whether, podcasts like me or people that do a show on TV or something, we do it for entertainment. We do it for escapism. We do it to kind of take you away from your normal lives. And that's why we do it. So, we go about our business, but we do that with heavy hearts and with the idea that there's a lot of things going on. We don't forget those things. We just try to, escape from them for a little bit, just to kind of, breathe a little bit and just, just to kind of ease ourselves a little bit. That's what we do it for. So, yeah. I also, before we move on, because it's necessary too, want to acknowledge Tom Petty, who passed away as well earlier this week. His name speaks for himself. He obviously a legendary musician, rocker. There was a lot, just very sudden cardiac arrest. Obviously, he is a tremendous loss. His career speaks for itself. We all know what he's done. Tremendous talent, an icon, and another one of those, big names that losing hurts a lot. And it leaves a big void in the music industry and in the pop culture industry, portion of the pop culture, I should say. So it leaves a big void there. So to family, friends, and loved ones and fans of Tom Petty, our condolences and thoughts and prayers, and may he rest in peace. A tremendous talent gone very, very suddenly. So that was a true shock. And again, this has been a rough week. So for news, and rough couple months really for news. So wanted to acknowledge that as well here on the show. So again, we move on. We try to do a show. We try to kind of escape from the things that are going on, and for a little bit anyway. And we have a very, very big show tonight. Lots of things to do. Again, on a special Wednesday show. Before I get into why we're doing a Wednesday show, first let me remind you of all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it, or once you're on it. All right, so now, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure everything got posted. All right, so now, why are we doing this show on a Wednesday? Why did we postpone so late yesterday? Here's the thing, because I know there was people that were asking me on emailing me, and I was talking to some people off the air last night. Oh, you're doing because you're a Yankee fan. Yankees are playing the playoff game tomorrow. Blah 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 blah. Okay, look. First of all, I've known about the fact that they're going to be in that game for over a week. Okay, if I wanted to cancel, I would have made it's for selfish reasons. I would have made it known a week ago. So I did not do it for that reason. Now, our mentality does have something to do with the game, because after thinking about it and talking it over, we came to the determination that it worked even though we are going up against the NL wildcard game, which we will keep you up to date on throughout the show here tonight. Even though going up against one wildcard game tonight, the idea was when you do a playoff preview, and we're going to do that tonight on the program, even though the wild card games are part of the playoffs, okay, I think of them the same way as I think about the first four in the NCAA tournament. To me, they're not the playoffs. To me, it's no different than if you tied in the regular season, you have to play a game to decide who wins the division. Okay, to me, it's not the playoffs. It's like a prologue. Okay, so I don't count that. And even though a lot of times when we get to these games, we kind of have an idea who we think is going to advance. We're like, oh, they're the favorite. Or like the Yankees were the overwhelming favorite last night. Many people think Arizona is the overwhelming favorite tonight. So you feel comfortable in thinking those teams are going to advance. But anything can happen in a winner take all, one game format. Anything can happen. We've seen it time and time again. So it's not so foregone that you can't operate under that assumption if you're going to really be fair. So when you're going to sit down and do a preview, make some picks, look at things, and really go into it, it's better when you know the teams, for a fact who they're going to be, what happened in those games. Because like last night with the Yankees, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Last night with the Yankees, yeah, they won the game, but they kind of emptied the pen. A couple guys aren't going to be available for game one. That could dictate the whole series. So these things can affect your perception and how you view things and how you view things going forward. So if I'm going to sit down and we're going to do this playoff thing, you want to have all the information. You want to know what's happened, and it factors into what you're going to discuss. Now tonight, obviously, we're going up against the game, so we're not. I'll be tracking it, and we can bring things up throughout. And bring it into the conversation. So, but at least we're up against it. We see it happening real time, and we can bring it into the conversation. So even though it's not over, we'll have something to work off of, and kind of be like, okay, mate, let's say Greinke goes out there for Arizona and lays an egg like Severino did last night. Okay, and then Arizona, who is not as stacked in the bullpen as the Yankees are, has to use their bullpen for 3, 4, 5, 6 innings. That could, even if they advance, that can impact the way you perceive them going forward. So these things are very important in terms of looking at these playoffs and looking at these series and looking at what's going to happen. So when you take that into consideration, it's one of the reasons why I don't mind waiting a few weeks before we do a full season preview for the NFL or for anything, because the longer you wait, the more information you have, the better you can be and the more comprehensive you can be. So that's why I think after thinking about it, it worked better to postpone a day, to be able to do this in a better fashion than if we were last night, where we're going up against the Yankee game. We still don't know. We have no idea about the Arizona-Colorado game. We won't be on against it. At least now we can pull information from the game as it goes on. Yankees-Twins are already over. We can pull from that game. So we have a little bit more to work with than if we just did it starting last night, or if we did it last night. So I thought it was best to do it. And that's why we did it that way. So And it's something in the future, I think, when it comes to these shows, I think I'm going to think about beforehand, because it does make a little bit more sense, especially when we're up in prime time. If we were a daytime show, which, a couple of weeks we could be, hint, hint, we could, it'd be a little bit different, but being at night and having 2 shows a week, I feel like this works a little bit better. So that's why we did it the way we did it. So that's why we're on the air on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, and doing back-to-back shows Wednesday and then, of course, tomorrow night. So again, as I said, we will keep you up to date on the NL wildcard game between Arizona and Colorado as it goes on here. It should be a good game, although I think Arizona is the heavy favorite. We'll talk more about the MLB in general, give a full playoff preview, all that stuff later on in the program. Tonight's just a sports night. We're not going to do anything else. I thought about maybe throwing some of the entertainment stuff on here, so we didn't have to do it tomorrow, but we don't really have a lot. And again, the wrestling ain't going to take us long tomorrow. So I thought that, putting the entertainment and wrestling stuff together tomorrow made the most. And that's really how I viewed it for the last week anyway. So I kept it the same. I figured we got so much to do. We got to look at last week's NFL games, look ahead to this week. We have to, a couple other sports things we have to cover. We have to cover this Cam Newton nonsense, which we'll get into. And boy, it's, I mean, people say a lot that I don't rant as much as I used to. I've had a couple lately, but I don't, go off about things. I'm going to go off about Cam Newton, because what he did was positively ridiculous, absurd, offensive. If you've heard the cut from the press conference, you'll know what I mean. Words escape me on that, but we'll talk about it. That was a late add to the show, obviously, because that happened earlier today. We'll talk about it. We have a couple other things that NBA changed some of their rules with the All-Star game. I'll do a brief thing on that. I'm not going to go crazy about it. Some of the stuff I didn't even put in the show description. We got to talk about Grayson Allen getting his captainship back. A lot of people are kind of a little weird about that. Update you on the scandal in college basketball, where we're at with that. And then, of course, we got the NFL preview, which is going to, folks, it's probably going to be one of the shorter previews, because realistically speaking, I think this is going to be one of those seasons where I just think it's going to be impossible to do a preview. Usually I can kind of give you a little bit of insight. It's going to be impossible. What I'm seeing, and we'll talk about this in just a few moments. Granted, the quality of play was a little bit better. Actually, not. It was a lot better, to be honest. But still, it's hard to get a read for some of these teams this year. It really is. It's really hard. I watched a lot of football on Sunday, and I still can't tell you what my usually by now I can look through I'm not looking at a crystal ball. I mean, I've been accurate on a lot of predictions, but I'm not tooting my own horn. I have. You can go back through the years as we've been doing the show, and I made predictions. I've been pretty good about them. But this year, if you can pick a Super Bowl team, God bless you. Because I don't know. I don't know. And it's I mean, the only one that you would feel in any way, shape, or form, I think, good about at this point is the Kansas City Chiefs. And maybe the Falcons, maybe, to an extent. Packers, I don't know yet. But, those two would stick out. Chiefs above everybody else, obviously, at this point. But we'll talk about that. We'll go into the preview, but the preview is not going to be like it usually is. And again, we always do a segment, but, it's not going to be what it usually is. It really isn't. So what we'll do first is we'll look back at last weekend, look ahead to this week, go over the picks and stuff, and then go into the preview. And then after that, we'll jump into the baseball and then close on some of those quick-hitting sports topics that I mentioned. And then real quick, tomorrow, as I said, entertainment and wrestling. So Box Office Beat, we'll continue our fall TV report card series. We will... and then we'll jump into some wrestling. We'll look back at Raw and SmackDown this week. We'll look ahead to Hell in a Cell, preview all the matches. I don't know how much time we'll have for questions and comments, but if you got them, you can send them either before the show or during the show. Again, email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can do that all. And that'll be the show tomorrow. And beyond tomorrow, because people have been thinking, next week's our anniversary. We will be doing something for the anniversary next week. I'm thinking we're going to do something a little bit on Tuesday and a little bit on Thursday. We're probably going to split up. Next week will probably be our last week of the current way we're doing things. I don't want to get into it tonight. I don't want to really get into it tomorrow. I might get into a little bit more tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. I have to have a phone call tomorrow morning with somebody that's kind of guiding me through this process. But once I get that narrowed down, I might say something tomorrow about it. I don't know. If that's not, definitely on Tuesday. But we'll be ready to roll and kind of move things along and get things going here. Not next week, but the week after. So get ready for that. Again, we're still going to be here. We're still doing the show. Just going to make some alterations, some changes, and it's going to be kind of, I like to call it going back to our roots a little bit. So, you know, I've teased it, I've talked about it a little bit, but when you see it implemented, I think it makes more sense. So, okay. So with that being said, let's get down to business. As I said, we'll jump in right here into the NFL first here. And we'll look at what we did last weekend. And like I said, first off, let me start by this. I've said this over the last couple of years, and this whole thing with how the season has started, the quality of play the last couple of years, most notably this year with it being the worst this year, with the quality of play being so poor, you know, since this kind of trend started a couple of years ago, since it started, week 4 or week 5 has usually been when things kind of, I won't say everybody kind of collectively woke up, but it's kind of like when things finally start to turn around for the better. And even before the quality of play got to be what it has over the last few years, especially this year, for it being the worst this year in the early part of the season, even before that, okay, it always did take teams a few weeks to kind of get into things, figure out how you're going to approach things, gel together, get the chemistry going, quick. For everything to click, it does take a few weeks. You know, that first quarter, you know how I've always looked at it this way. You look at the season in increments. You got the first 4 weeks, the second 4 weeks, the third 4 weeks, and the fourth 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks is kind of the feeling out process. The second 4 weeks is coming together as a team, kind of getting, you know, kicking things into gear and getting things going in the right direction and finally coming together. The third 4 weeks is about getting in position for the playoffs and really just kind of, it's really about just distancing yourself from the pack. And the last 4 weeks is sealing the deal. That's the way you got to look at it, and that's the easiest way to look at it. I think that's the best way to look at it, especially if you're a coach, because otherwise it can get overwhelming and very daunting. So that's the way you look at it. Now, so it's not like these teams ever came out and were lights out from the beginning, okay? It's just that it's gotten so bad in the last few years, especially with this year being just terrible. So even all along, week 4, week 5 is usually, maybe even week 6 to an extent, depending on how things fall, has been your transition to when this, in a lot of ways, the things start to pick up and you start to look at these teams, go, all right, who's elite, who's top tier, who's kind of in the mix, who's out of it, or who's not going to be in the mix, who's going to be kind of that, this could be bad all year. So that's kind of what you're getting into right now. You know, week 4 last weekend and goes week 5, that you're in there now. So when you sat down, I mentioned this last week, this is the week where you hope we see a turnaround, things get better. And I think you can say, if you watch the games this past week, that it got better. Was it a lot better? No. But it was noticeably better. There were still some bad games. There were still some awful performances. There's still some teams that you look at and go, did you even practice at all before the season started? You know, I mean, there's still some of that, but it's not widespread. I do think that you saw some teams take a big step forward this week, and I think you saw some teams that you know solidified themselves. I think I mentioned this earlier. I think Kansas City, even though they had a scare on Monday night, far and away has shown themselves to be the best team so far in the NFL. They're getting it done offensively. They're getting it done defensively. They're fundamentally sound. They're reminding you a lot of Atlanta last year. That's what they're reminding you of. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless you let a team come back from what, 30 down in the Super Bowl, but you know, it's still they're showing themselves to be that kind of team. So I think you put right now Kansas City's at the top of the heap. They're far and away the best team at this particular juncture, right? Now going into this weekend, you had Atlanta as an unbeaten team as well. Atlanta lost, but Atlanta lost a tough game to the Bills, who are one of the surprises this year in the early going. And we'll talk about the Bills in a minute. But I think you still feel good about Atlanta because even in a loss, they still look good. Atlanta's showing you that they're not in a Super Bowl slumber or hangover. They still look. Do they look as explosive as they did last year? No, they've kind of gone back to the way they used to do things, which is a little bit more restrained and subdued. Which is interesting. Maybe that's, I don't know why they did that. Or maybe they're just kind of not tipping their hand. I don't know. But they're still good. They're still going to be there. The problem is the rest of that conference has kind of come up to them a little bit. You know, you're seeing some signs from New Orleans, whose defense is getting better. You're seeing some signs from Carolina, who made a huge statement on Sunday. You know, so that might make things more interesting than last year when everybody kind of fell apart around them. But we'll see. But Atlanta, I think you can put on that top tier without really hesitation. And then I think I think Green Bay is kind of right there too, but I think Green Bay's borderline between top and kind of in the mix. I think when it's all said and done, they'll be up there with Atlanta. I do feel that way. But I think it's, you know, you worry about some of the injuries they've sustained. You wonder if they can overcome that because injuries always bogs Green Bay down as the season goes on. They sometimes start out good, and then they kind of go through that middle part of the season, and they kind of have to recover. But I think you still put Green Bay up there. I do, especially with the quarterback. Now, how do you feel about New England? I think offensively, I think you feel good. I think defensively, you worry a lot because I think you're seeing, you know, even though, again, quality of play, teams kind of whatever, we've talked about. But I think by now you've seen New England at least try to work things out and try to fix this mess that their defense is. You know, they're giving up the big play. You know, and this isn't just limited to what they were a couple years ago when their defense was horrid in the secondary. It's not just about their secondary. It's their run defense isn't any good. Their defense as a whole isn't good. They got guys out of position. You question some of the alignments of some of the positioning. There's a lot of things going on in New England in the defense. And, you know, one of the things I've always said is you can't fix something if you don't have the personnel. Sometimes you can slide a few guys over, but if you have too many holes, you can't fix it. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're Bill Belichick. I don't care who you are. If you have too many holes, you can't fix them all.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Hey, Brian. Do you know one hole I bet the Carolina Panthers want to fix?
Oh, I bet I know. Oh, I bet I know the answer to this. Is it Cam Newton's mouth?
It is. It's Cam Newton's fucking stupid mouth.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. Oh, yeah. we're gonna. Oh, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be. That
you keep up this stupid sport. I'm gonna continue eating dinner.
Go for it. But yeah, we'll talk about the Cam Newton thing because that's just, oh my goodness. But you know, New England just has too many. To me, right now, if you look at them, there's just too much going on there to fix. You know, if you don't have, I mean, sometimes you can just slide people around, move people around, and it can fix it or make it better. I felt like New Orleans has done that for years with their defense to just try to get by. But I don't think New England has that. I don't think they have the ability to do that. I think we've seen them try to do that, and they haven't been able to do that. So, and they play a tough schedule. So this is going to be interesting, especially with what Buffalo's done. So, but I think because they're New England, because their offense is so good, you still have to put New England like right up there with Green Bay at this particular point because you know what they're still capable of doing. Because we could be wrong. We could be wrong. I think right now, so I think those teams right now you put over there, okay? And you kind of go, all right, these are the teams I'm thinking of right now that have shown something so far. Shown enough so far that you think that they're near the top or, in that echelon there. Then you have a bunch of teams that you're still not sure of. Not only just because of the quality of play being up and down or not exactly good, but because you just don't know. They've shown signs, but you just don't know. Okay? You got Philly and you got Washington. Washington played really good on Monday night against the Chiefs. Really good football. That was probably the best Redskins performance I've seen in 2 years. I really like what I saw from them, especially on defense in that game on Monday night. Really good performance. The Eagles have done very well the last couple of weeks, shown a lot on both sides of the football. So those two teams, I think, are teams that you look at and you keep an eye on as teams that could step forth and maybe do more than just being in the mix, maybe be legitimate threats to not only win the NFC East, but make a nice run. I think you keep an eye on Dallas because remember, this is the same. They got the same personnel as they had last year. They haven't. Some people feel they've regressed. Maybe they have a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of a sophomore slump with Dak. But I think you still feel good about them. I think you look at them, you see the talent still there. You look to see if the next couple of weeks they're going to put it together and make a run. So I think you put Dallas up there too because of what they did last year and what they've shown at times this year. Seattle, I think you put in that mix too because you know what they've done in the past and you've seen signs of this year. They had a very good win on Sunday night against the Colts, which the Colts helped out, with their own problems that they have, but still, it was a good win for Seattle. So I think you keep Seattle in that mix too. So those teams you keep an eye on as teams that are, you probably figure are going to be in the mix, but, could present to be more than just that. Then you have the teams that are surprises, the Rams, the Bills. I won't say Carolina, New Orleans. I think I put them in the same mix as Dallas, Washington, Philly as teams to kind of keep an eye on that could be in the mix or very likely will be in the mix. But I think you put Buffalo and you put I should put Denver in that mix too because we know Denver, at least defensively, can keep themselves in that mix. And then it's just a matter of offensively, they can keep things going in the right direction. If they do, then they'll be on that top line of teams to watch. Oakland as well. Although you worry about the injury to Carr. But Oakland, you keep in, even though they've been inconsistent so far, you keep in that mix as well. Again, these are all teams that right now are in the watch list, and you look to see if they can maneuver themselves up to that top tier as teams to keep it on that teams that you consider among those that can be playoff bound. And I mean, it can't always be just about what you did last year. You got to see showing up signs this year. So you factor both things into it, especially if the personnel is the same. So, but you keep them on that same level of teams that are right there on that line below top as teams like, okay, let's see what you do the next couple of weeks and see if you go to that upper tier or not. But as I said, the Rams, the Bills, right now, you look at those two teams and you go, okay, Rams were in this spot last year. So you don't buy anything yet. The Bills you might buy because they've beaten two really good football teams. They've beaten the Broncos and they've beaten the Falcons. They beat the Falcons in their building, which is a very hard thing to do. They have beaten two really good football teams. And when you take that into consideration, you look at how good their defense has been. I think you take more notice of the Bills than you take of the Rams at this point, even though the Rams apparently have the best offense in football right now. So the Rams, you look at and you go, all right, let me see where you're at in 3 weeks. With the Bills, you look at them and go, all right, I already feel like you're a team that's going to be a surprise. Let's see if you can continue this momentum. Because I think when you look at the Bills, based on who they've beaten, you know that they're probably going to be doing better than we all thought they would be. When we look at them around week 8, you're going to look at them and go, all right, they're a team. Let's see if they can hang in this thing, and let's see how far they can go. I don't think you look at the Bills with the same skepticism as the Rams at this point, because they've shown, based on the competition that they played, I think they've proven something, and they've proven that they're maybe not a team to be taken lightly at this point. They still have a lot to prove before you put them on that top line or anywhere near that top line, but I think you look at them with less skepticism than you do the Rams. The Rams have to show you a lot more before you can not be skeptical of where they're at. The Steelers, by the way, I should put on that in that mix as well with Seattle and company that I was mentioning earlier. Because obviously the Steelers, the problem is the defense. Can the defense step up? Because the offense is going to be there, providing that Antonio Brown, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, doesn't act absurd like he did on Sunday. Because I'm going to rant about that because I think that's just absurd what he did. But that's where you're at with these teams as far as where they're at. So, and allow me, and this is what I said about the NFL preview. I'm going to throw this in because it's a perfect segue right now into our week 4/week 5 discussion. Because as you see it right now, okay, based on what I've seen, again, quality of play has been terrible and improved noticeably here in week 4. You hope that it continues to improve over the next couple of weeks until it finally gets to that point where you feel like, okay, here we go. And I think it's on that way. It's unfortunate it takes this long. But, you know, the way I just mentioned these teams, that's the way I look at it right now. And that's the way, when I look at this as we look at previewing the season, this is why I said it's hard to do a preview this year. Because other than the Chiefs, okay, and maybe the Packers and the Falcons and the Patriots and maybe the Steelers, teams that we've seen do it regularity over the last couple years, maybe Seattle too, I guess you can throw them in there as well, and Carolina maybe. But if you haven't done it with regularity over the last, it's hard to really, you know what I mean? It's hard to kind of go, all right, well, this is the way I see it going. It's hard. It really is. I think we can safely say, if you look around the league, you're going to have an interesting race between, we'll see if Denver and Oakland can in any way, shape, or form get to Kansas City. Because Denver and Oakland, we know, are both potential playoff teams. Carr's injury, we'll see how that dictates them. That's going to be a very competitive division. We know that. The NFC East is going to be a very competitive division. Cowboys going down, kind of regressing a little bit. We'll see if they can step it back up again. The Giants are the only team that you think is really out of it. And the Giants are out of it, folks. It's hard to write off a team. Like, I guess the Giants could conceivably still make the playoffs if some of these teams come down to earth with them. But honestly, the way things are materializing, for one thing, so many of their losses being in conference hurts them. That hurts them. So, I mean, that's a component there. I don't know. I just don't think there's enough time. They play too tough a schedule. I think the Giants are done. So I don't think they're going to factor in anything. And if we had done this preview a month ago, I would have been all in on the Giants and going, well, they're going to at least be a playoff team. I backed off in August. I was thinking Super Bowl. But I backed off that before week 1 because something was telling me to get off of it. And I was looking at other NFC teams. But I still would have picked them to be in the playoffs a month ago. Good. Now I would, no way. No way. Not with their scheduling at 0-4 already and how many, 2 conference losses already? No way. But but still, the NFC East, you got 3 teams there that had the potential. NFC South now looks interesting with Carolina and New Orleans stepping up. Be interesting to see what Houston does. I didn't talk about Houston. We thought their season was done, but boy, they introduced Deshaun Watson. All of a sudden, they're putting a 50 spot on Tennessee. Who knows if Deshaun Watson does as good as he's done the last few weeks? Houston could easily win the AFC South, and Houston could easily be a tough out in the playoffs because defensively they're not great as great as they were, but they're solid enough. And if Deshaun Watson's going to be that explosive, then they're going to be tough to match up with because he's a very, very explosive quarterback. Very explosive quarterback. So we'll keep an eye on them. I didn't mention them in any way, shape, or form before, but because I have a lot of doubts about them because I need to see more in a couple weeks of Deshaun Watson essentially carrying Houston on his back. But we'll see. We'll see. But they could factor into things because that AFC South is terrible. I thought Tennessee showed a lot until they laid an egg against the Texans. I thought Jacksonville showed a lot until they laid an egg against the Jets. Indy, I thought maybe, I thought they played okay in Seattle the first half, and then they kind of just fell apart. Without Andrew Luck, I just don't think they're going to get done. They're a little bit better defensively, but I just don't think they're going to get it done by Andrew Luck. So really, if you think about it, if Deshaun Watson even is 70% as good as he's been the last 2 weeks, Houston probably wins that division easily. It's probably not going to be like a great record to do it. It might be like 8-8 or something, but they could win it. So, so that division's figured to be that competitive unless it's a war of attrition, essentially. I guess if the Rams end up being as good as their record indicates over the first few weeks, then they could compete with Seattle, make that interesting in the NFC West. Otherwise, I think Seattle probably wins that easy because Arizona is just struggling. So really, I think when you look at the most competitive divisions, look like the NFC East and the AFC West. Easily. And maybe the NFC South. Those three would be the ones to watch as far as the potential for multiple teams that could really do some big things and multiple teams to maybe make the playoffs. Those would be the divisions to watch. And I think, we talk about every year or every couple years, it seems like the league kind of evolves a little bit and things rotate, things rotate. We talked about a few years back where it felt like it was more about running game and defense, grinding it out. And then it was about just the quarterbacks, and it's about the passing game and the big play, explosive plays. That's what it's about. And now I feel like we've evolved. It's evolved to the point now where so much of what makes a team successful is the offensive line, protecting your quarterback. Because if you don't protect your quarterback, I don't care if he's mobile. I don't care. Doesn't matter how mobile he is. If you don't give that guy time to make a play, or at least give him some space to make a play, then you're not going to be very successful. I think we've seen that. You look at what's going on with the Giants. If the Giants have an offensive line, they're at least 2-2. Okay. If the Colts have an offensive line these last couple of years, they're a much better football team. And Andrew Luck might not have had shoulder surgery, Look at Buffalo. Buffalo's better this year because they're blocking better for Tyrod Taylor. Even a mediocre quarterback, okay? Even a mediocre quarterback can be made to at least look better and can have a better performance if you give him time. Bottom line. And that's the big story. I think that's the big theme for the league this year. I think that's the big story in the league this year as far as the on-the-field stuff goes, is offensive lines. The teams that have at least something to work with are going to have more success. If you don't have a line, you're done. You might luck out, win a few games, you're done. You ain't going far. If you make it, if you're lucky enough to make it, you're just done. It's just not going to work. Because one of the adjustments that's been made in this league now that it's become such a quarterback and pass-driven league, okay, is that teams now are investing a lot of money in pass rush and pass rushing. That's what they're doing. They're going after good corners. They're going after the quarterback. They're investing a lot of money in that on defense. And if you don't have a line, you are screwed. Because that is the way that they plan their defenses now. So, like, you know what? We got to get a couple guys in the pass rush. We got to hurry the quarterback. We got to put pressure on the quarterback because that's the only way that we're gonna really make a dent in kind of containing offenses nowadays. So you got to have an offensive line, or you end up in similar ways like the Giants. It's you need it. So that's a prevailing theme and story, I think, that we're seeing at week in and week out. Um, and now, obviously we went into the season having another LA team with the LA Chargers, and that hasn't worked out so well so far. You got the second year of the Rams, and the Rams are doing some things, so that was obviously interesting going into the year. Oakland's got some things, obviously, with their team and relocation and all that. So those are undercurrents to the season, and obviously there's been a lot of political stuff, and we're not going to talk about. We said all we could say about it last week, but obviously that'll be a prevailing story all throughout the year, I imagine. And I think, being here as we were approaching week 5, obviously now you're going to look at the teams that you thought would compete or do better. You're going to look at them and you're going to be like, okay, if they're like the Patriots are 2-2, is this for real, or is this just, it's taking longer for things to happen? We talked about the Patriots defense earlier. Will they figure something out? Will they prove us all wrong? Who's for? Is this? I mean, that's something you're going to wonder about. The Patriots, if this is for real, what's going on with them? Is this going to be a struggle for them this year? Somehow the Jets are 2-2. Will the Jets end up being better than we thought? Will this Buffalo and Rams surprise, Buffalo Bills and LA Rams surprise seasons keep going? What's up with the Bengals? Will there be a move there? Because you have to think Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton are on the hot seat if they can't get this turned around. What happens with the Ravens? There's been so much talk about the Ravens. And maybe it's time to move on from Joe Flacco. Why didn't they sign Colin Kaepernick? Will Colin Kaepernick go get to a team? Because there's a lot of teams that need a quarterback at this point, and not signing him seems stupid. I've never been the biggest Colin Kaepernick fan, but Miami could use him. He's better than Cutler. Cutler gave up on Sunday. That was a deplorable performance. Miami might be worse than the Jets. I thought the Jets were the worst. Miami might be worse. But will Colin Kaepernick get signed? What happens with Joe Flacco? What happens with Baltimore? Do they get out of this mess that they're in? Or is this going to be a runaway season for the Steelers? We talked about Deshaun Watson and the Texans, how that will keep going, and will that dream couple weeks continue? So a lot of storylines to keep an eye on. Arizona, will they get this turned around, or is the Bruce Arians magic over? Seattle, will they, I don't know if you take what happened against the Colts on Sunday night as something that's a precursor to what's to come. But really, do you buy Seattle anymore? Do you think Seattle can compete for a Super Bowl anymore? Or have they fallen a little bit? And now, I mean, they're going to be at least a playoff contender, I'd imagine. But have they fallen off to the point where you no longer consider a legit threat to the Super Bowl? So there's a lot of things to look at as we go forward here as storylines for the season, and things that we've already seen kind of unfold in the first few weeks of the season. And of course, we talked about the poor quality of play, and obviously hopefully that will turn around in the next couple weeks. It already looks like it's turned around a little bit, at least noticeably in week 4. So all things to kind of look out for as we go forward here as the season progresses. So as for predictions, season-wise, and I'll talk about my picks from last week and picks for this week in a moment. Prediction-wise, in August I said I was going to predict the Giants and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That was why I said off the air, and then I backed off the Giants. I was still going to stick with the Patriots. But I'm not going to stick with the Patriots anymore. I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs. And I know that's a flavor that, I mean, that's an easy pick to make right now. Because I'll be honest with you all. Even if it wasn't going to be the Patriots, I was going to pick the Chiefs. I really like the Chiefs. I've always been a Chiefs guy. You all know I've always picked them as a sweeper almost every year. I've always been a big fan, especially with Andy Reid there. I've always liked the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think right now is their time. They have a little bit more explosiveness. All the elements are kind of coming together for the Chiefs. So I'll make my predictions right here, right now. I think the NFL MVP this year. I'm trying to think of who I would say would be MVP. Maybe Rodgers. I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers or Matt Ryan. That's what I think it's going to be. Because the Chiefs aren't going to. None of the Chiefs are going to put up enough, individual statistics. I think to really. So I think it'll be Rodgers or Matt Ryan. If their team seasons continue the way they are, I think it'll be one of those two. That's what I think the MVP will be. My sweeper teams, I was going to say Tampa, and I think Tampa could still be one. I keep an eye on them. I know they haven't played the best lately, but I still keep an eye on them. I want to pick the Bills, so obviously they could be anybody's super pick right now. My sweeper picks, I was going to say the Saints, and obviously they've shown themselves to be that so far, so I'll stick with the Saints. And I was going to go with Tennessee because we've been saying for the last couple of years, we keep waiting for Tennessee to, everybody's been kind of on the Tennessee bandwagon the last couple of years as a sweeper team that should be coming into their own. I'll say Tennessee this year. I think it's going to finally happen. I know they didn't play good against the Texans, but I think it's going to finally happen this year. I didn't want to pick the Bills because, again, right now, everybody's on that bandwagon. I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to pick, and those are the two teams I was thinking about. Two of the teams I was thinking about a month ago anyway, so at least I'm consistent. I mean, Tampa was the other one. So I'll go with New Orleans, and I'll go with the Tennessee Titans as sweeper teams. And I'll pick my. I always pick the final four. I don't pick any of the other rounds of playoffs. I pick the final four for the NFL right now. I'm gonna go with Chiefs Patriots AFC championship game. Still have to respect the Patriots until otherwise noted. Until they get defeated, I should say. So Chiefs and Patriots AFC title game, NFC title game. That's a hard one. I'll go with Green. I'll go for a repeat. I'll go with Green Bay Atlanta. I'll go for a repeat because I don't know if I can't bind to anybody else. I don't know if anybody else could be consistent enough. So Green Bay, I guess Carolina could be a team that could spoil that. So that'd be the other team I would think. But yeah, because they have the defense to do it. But yeah, Green Bay, I'll go Green Bay Atlanta. And I'll go with a Green Bay Kansas City Super Bowl. I don't want to pick Atlanta again because I feel like Green Bay. I feel like Green Bay's going to want to get back at Atlanta for the last couple of years. So I'll go with Green Bay and Kansas City in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs winning the thing. With the Chiefs winning the whole thing. That's what I'll go with. Told you, I like the Chiefs. I'm nothing if not consistent. I finally have a reason to pick them to go to the Super Bowl. So, all right, so that's the season. I told you all I wasn't going to do a lot with the season preview. I kind of threw it right in the middle of the usual NFL stuff, but hey, there it is. Now we look at week 4 and week 5. I'm going to bring up the week 4 picks. I already talked about, in some ways, what happened in week 4, some of the big highlights. So I'm not going to belabor the point and go on and on and on. I'm just going to go to the picks here. I'm going to open these right here. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to find them here. Hang on, I can't find them here. And then we'll look at week 5 and then move on. Where the heck are they? NFL picks. I have a file on them. I just have to bring them up. Ah, there they are. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's see where we're at right now. All right, so week 4, we had Chiefs over Redskins. I got a win there. Raiders over Broncos. I got a loss there. Steelers over Ravens. I have a win there. I'll pull up the screen here, make sure I'm getting the right information because some of these scores I'm trying to blank on here. I'm drawing a blank on. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. So all right, here's week 4. All right. Just want to check one score. I'm not sure if I remember it correctly. Okay. It's week 5. I want week 4. Give me week 4. There it is. Okay. I had that pulled up and it wasn't. There it is. Okay, so we want to do. Got a loss on the Falcon game, loss on the Patriot game. All right, so we had Bills over Falcons, Lions over Vikings. That's a loss for me. Steelers over Ravens. Broncos beat the Raiders. Okay. So last week I was 1, 2. Wow, another bad week. 1, 2, 2 and 4 again. So that's kind of been my thing. 2 and 4. So not good. So 2 and 4 this week. 2 and 4 last week, 1 and 4 week 2, and 2 and 4 in week 1. So again, this has been the way the season's gone. It's been terrible. So now we go ahead to week 5, and see what we're going to look at here. And it's like I said, hopefully it's even better as far as the play goes, quality of play goes. Last week was noticeably better. Hopefully it'll continue this week. You start off tomorrow with tomorrow night with the Patriots at the Buccaneers, a game that a lot of people think you could see it upsetting because the Buccaneers can score, and we know. I mean, look, the question is, can their defense hold down New England enough to keep up with their offense? Because the Tampa's going to score on New England. The question is, can you keep New England down enough offensively to keep up with them? That's going to be the big thing. But you have a couple of interesting games. So I always like to try to pick the primetime games. You all know that. A couple buys: Falcons, Broncos, Saints, Redskins, all have buys. They're getting into that portion of the schedule now. The Monday night game's not a good one. It's Vikings and Bears. I'm not going to pick that one. I have no interest. Sunday night, you got the Chiefs and the Texans. I'm going to pick that game, even though it's not a great game, because here's the thing. We know how Deshaun Watson has played. He's been great, but the Chiefs are a completely different animal. We know what they can do defensively. We know what they can do. They're good, fundamentally sound football team offensively. They're not going to make mistakes. I do think the Texans will keep this close. But I think Kansas City wins it. Probably at least a touchdown. So Kansas City over Houston in the Sunday Night Football game. Packers Cowboys, great game on Fox in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday. This is a big game, I think, for Dallas, because this could show them that they're still that same team. They got knocked out by the Packers last year. It's a revenge game. It could show that they can still beat elite team. They can prove. I think they can build some confidence here. I like I like the way Green Bay's played, but with the injuries and such, you don't know what you're going to get. Plus, they're going into Dallas. Dallas, I think, has a lot more of a chip on their shoulder right now. I think they're going to be looking to prove themselves. I like Dallas over Green Bay in what should be a very close, competitive, old-school rivalry game. I got 2 games here. Let me see what else I want to pick. I'll pick the Thursday night game because I think that's going to be closer than people think. I think New England's only a 5.5-point favor. I'm going to pick New England in that game. I'm going to pick the Patriots, but again, that's a game. And Tampa has a tendency to really upset people in their building, especially in their division. So you never know, but I like New England to outlast them. I think that's going to be an interesting game, though. Okay, so that's 3. Panthers, Lions in the 1 o'clock window. I think that's a good game. Carolina's got a lot of momentum coming off of their big win against New England. I think that was a big turnaround game for them. The question is, what Cam Newton did today provide a distraction for them? You wouldn't think it would because, a couple years ago, they were an unbeaten team, and there was a lot of stuff going on with that. I still like Carolina to beat Detroit in their building. I still do. I think Carolina's turned the corner. I like Carolina to beat the Panthers, not by a lot, but, I do like them. So Panthers over Lions. I got 2 more games to pick. Cardinals, Eagles might be, Ravens, Raiders. I don't like that game. I don't know if Carr's going to play. Seahawks, Rams. Let's pick that one. That's in the 4 o'clock window. This is a chance for the Rams. The Rams were able to beat Seattle in their building last year. Offensively, again, they're the best offense in football right now. This is a chance for them to prove themselves. If they can knock off Seattle here, go to 4-1, send Seattle to 2-3, then this starts the process of legitimizing what the Rams have done. To me. So this is a big game for them. A big game. I think Seattle wins it barely, even though they're 0-2 on the road. They've not played well on the road. But I think that maybe they found themselves last week against the Colts, even though the Colts helped them out a little bit. I think they might have found some things last week. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks over the Rams. I still don't buy the Rams yet. But you know what? Maybe they'll prove me wrong. So Seahawks over Rams. One more game to pick. I keep going back to this game, so I might as well pick it. Arizona and Philly in the 1 o'clock window. Philly's shown a lot so far this year. Arizona needs a win in the worst way. They're 2-2, but they need a win for their own sake because even though they're 2-2, they have not looked good. They just have not looked good at all. So to me, this is a game where Arizona wants to come out and not only play well, but they got to get the win, I think. I really do, or this could start to spiral out here because, this is not with the Rams doing what they're doing, and, you got Seattle. They got to get things together here quick. So, I mean, you're better off being 2-2 than 0-4, but still, the way that they played, I just think they need a confidence boost. Having said that, I think the Eagles right now in their own building are going to be very tough. They've shown a lot more, and I kind of do feel like Arizona's in one of those ruts that could really end up changing the course of their franchise where they might have to make significant changes because they might have missed their window. So I like, based on the way the teams have played so far, that's why I'm going to base my prediction on. I'm going to go with the Eagles over the Cardinals in that game. So my picks: Chiefs over Texans, Cowboys over Packers, Patriots over Buccaneers, Panthers over Lions, Seahawks over Rams, Eagles over Cardinals. Those are my Week 5 picks. We'll obviously look back at them next week and look back at all the big highlights from the Week 5 and all that good stuff. And, of course, look at the Week 6, all that, of course, next week. So that's the end of – so I did the season preview for the NFL. We did look back at last week, look ahead to this week. We did that. We're not done with the NFL because we have to go to a story here that Mike brought up earlier. But really quickly, as I said, I'd update you on the NL wildcard game right now. It is 4-0 Arizona in the top of the third. This game on TBS. Colorado's got a couple men on base here. We'll see if they can get back into this thing. Again, Arizona was the overwhelming favorite. So we'll keep you updated on that game as we go along here while we're on the air. Now, let's get to this Cam Newton thing so we can get out of the NFL stuff. Mike brought it up. I'm going to mention to you all what exactly was said. If you haven't heard the audio or seen the clip, I encourage you to do so because context is always important. Cam Newton made a lot of waves today during a press conference when he insulted a female reporter and laughed at her after the fact. Now, you're going to probably hear some sound in a minute, so please don't. Just because I'm looking at the article here. During the press conference today, Cam Newton laughed and made light of a female reporter who asked about one of his teammates, saying it was funny to hear a female ask the question. Charlotte Observer beat reporter Jordan. Hang on. Okay. Charlotte Observer beat reporter Jordan, I think it's Rodrigue. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I apologize if I'm wrong. Asked Newton during Wednesday's news conference about wide receiver Devin Funchess embracing the physicality of Roots and if Newton got enjoyment out of it. Actually, you know what? That works. I'm going to play it.
His routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. It's funny. But fun.
There it is. So I don't even have to read the article now. Keep in mind, folks, if you watch this, that clip comes from ESPN.com, so we want to make sure we credit for that. Okay, so keep in mind, if you watch the clip, he's laughing during it, okay, and smiling. A lot of people didn't like the body language, had his eyes were like almost demonic. The reporter said on Twitter, and I quote, "I don't think it's funny to be a female and talk about routes. I think it's my job." Someone asked her on Twitter, "While I agree with the sentiment, did anyone talk to or confront Cam about his comment? Why try this via social media?" The reporter said, "I spoke with him after, and it was worse. I chose not to share because I have an actual job to do today, and one he will not keep me from." Panthers Director of Communications, Stephen Drummond, said in a statement that he spoke with Newton and the reporter, and I know they had a conversation where he expressed regret for using those words. "We strive as a department to make the environment for media comfortable for everyone covering the team." That's a quote from them. He has not, according to the reporter, Newton has not apologized. In a statement, the NFL said, and I quote, "The comments are just plain wrong and disrespectful to the exceptional female reporters and all journalists. They do not reflect the thinking of the league." There's been a lot of comments, including by the Association of Women in Sports Media. Now, Newman's had a very, and you can read articles on ESPN.com and a lot of other places about this because it's a big story. So I encourage you to do so because there's a lot out there about it. Pro Football Writers of America have also condemned Newton's comments. Newton has not always been good with the media. He cut them off after their Super Bowl loss in Super Bowl 50. He's got a checkered past. When he was in college, he was regularly, he wasn't somebody that people looked at fondly in college. He's always had issues, but when he got to the NFL, in a lot of ways, people think he cleaned up his act. And then this today. Let me start, and I'm sure Mike's going to have a lot to say about this. Let me just say this. If I'm the Carolina Panthers, okay, because you are never, there's no amount of apologizing by Cam Newton, no amount of showing regret is going to erase this, okay? Especially if you take into account past history, like the way he's acted in the past, even though he's claimed it was a long time ago, whatever, and the way he treats the media, if you take that into account, it makes it, it adds to it. But to me, this is a whole separate issue. All right, I'm not even paying attention to that stuff that's happened in his career in the past, whatever. Take this issue on its own, okay? If you take it on its own, you see what he said. The way he said it and the smile on his face when he said it, okay? No apology is going to seem genuine, especially when the reporter goes on Twitter and says, "I spoke to him about it and asked him about it, and he said something that made it even worse, and I don't want to share that because I have other things to do today." So in other words, anything that he says now to try to neutralize this situation, I'm going to apologize for, is going to come off completely forced and artificial. It's going to seem like everybody came down and said, "You better apologize for it." So there's nothing that he can do to erase what he's done here. And he's never going to live this down, nor should he. And if I'm the Carolina Panthers, I make a statement here. I make a statement here and I say, you're not playing on Sunday. You look at your teammates and explain to them why you're not. Well, you shouldn't have to because they all probably saw it. People are going to say, well, why penalize the whole team? Because you want to know something? They're going to look at him. They're going to come down on him for being an idiot and for thinking that way. And he's going to learn more from it and hopefully change his attitude from it if you do it. He doesn't play on Sunday. In fact, you want to ban him from next week, ban him from next week and fine his ass. make a statement, because his behavior and the way in which what he said and the way in which he did it should not be tolerated. And to simply say, well, we talked to him and we worked it out. No, do not Odell Beckham Jr. this situation. This is not it's something like an over the top celebration that was offensive. He insulted a woman. He treated a member of the media, a professional, with complete disregard and laughed while he did it. And the way he acted almost seemed like he expected everybody in the crowd to start laughing along with him. No tolerance, zero tolerance for this. Do something about it. Carolina, I hope you do the right thing. He should not play on Sunday. I hate to penalize the team, but because you know what? Who knows? I think you make it clear that if there's anybody else out there that has that same attitude, whether it's in the Carolina locker room or anywhere else, if they have that same attitude, shame on them. But I come down on him hard here. Do this. Have the guts to do this. He doesn't play on Sunday. Heck, he won't play next week. Get him out of here for 2 weeks. Find him. Tell him that he has to think about this. Face his team and explain to them why he thinks that way. Own up to the fact that he's stupid to think that way and completely disrespectful to think that way. And hope to hell that you reach him and get him to understand that the way he acted was so disrespectful, so offensive, Neanderthalish, and it's something that reflects societal values that we haven't had present since in how long? Decades. You're not going to set him straight just finding him or talking to him. He doesn't play. That's the bottom line. Send a message to the rest of that Carolina locker room and to the rest of the league. He does not play. I cannot believe that I heard those words come out of his mouth and the way that I heard him come out of his mouth and the way he acted. You should be embarrassed. The women in your life should be so pissed off at you. They should slap the shit out of you. Completely and utterly garbage. Just what the NFL needed another image issue. But that's another issue that they have to rectify, that somebody in their league has thinks like that and had the nerve to say something like that. All right, Mike, I know you want to jump in, so go ahead. Mike is in the spotlight, hopefully. So.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. The NFL has an image problem. They have a giant image problem. A lot of us support black athletes in the NFL are doing. A lot of us do. They're not kneeling for unity, although some people are. Kneeling because they're peacefully protesting African Americans getting treated differently by police. And yes, Donald Trump said a lot of disparaging things about these African American athletes. However, a lot of progressives were on the NFL side because the NFL was generally in the right. Here we are a week later. God damn, the NFL can't get anything right. Cam Newton is the face of the Carolina Panthers. He is their star player. and believing this. Am I correct in assuming that Cam Newton is the face of the Carolina
Yes.
Panthers? He is their star player. He is their
Yes.
number one option. He is their starting quarterback. He is their big boy. I cannot believe I'm going to quote this piece of shit, but here we go. I saw a clip from Colin Cowherd comparing Odell Beckham Jr. and Aaron Judge. He says Odell Beckham Jr. wants big boy money. He wants money to be the face of the franchise, face of the face of the league. His actions don't speak to that. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't like quoting Colin Cowherd exactly. I cannot stress this enough. Colin Cowherd sucks, and this is only my opinion. After being forced to listen to him for years after Mike and Mike on my drive to college. It was rough. But he said if you look across the river at your baseball counterparts, the Yankees, look at Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge acts with maturity, a respect and love of his game, of his teammates, of his organization. People cannot wait to crown Aaron Judge the face of the Yankees, the new captain, the future of the franchise. They can't wait. They can't wait to crown him the next Derek Jeter. Why? Because Aaron Judge goes out there and acts like a mature adult. Diamond. He acts like an adult. Judge has been interviewed by several female reporters, and to my knowledge, treated them any differently or treated their questions any differently than any male reporters or any child reporters. Aaron Judge, professionally, which is why, and I hate giving him credit, but I'm giving him credit. Odell Beckham Jr. If you want to play for big boy money, you need to show big boy maturity. Big boy maturity. And I will give Odell Beckham Jr. this because Odell has his issues. A fantastic football player to watch when he's not playing dirty. Absolutely. Probably one of the top 3 receivers in the game, if not the top receiver in the game. Odell Beckham Jr. didn't act condescendingly to a female reporter. Excuse me, to a reporter. To a beat reporter for the Giants. Which is more than I could say about Cam fucking Newton. Newton. How many Super Bowls has Cam Newton won, Brian?
He's only none. Been to 1, but that's it.
Been to 1, didn't win it.
Right.
Imagine why. Because if this is the type of maturity face of your franchise, you are never going to win a fucking Super Bowl. Never, ever going to win a fucking Super Bowl. Because here's the thing. The reporter asked him a legitimate question. Unbelievable. It was a good question. To that question, I don't give a shit about football. But it was an honest question about routes. Routes is receivers have to run.
Right.
And you know what? I disagree. Cam Newton's eyes did not look demonic. Cam Newton's eyes looked ridiculous. He was utterly surprised that a female, asked him about routes. And then he proceeded to answer the question in the most condescending manner. most condescending manner. It's funny. We should hear Cam Newton talk about winning because he's never going to win the big one. Even if he wins the big one, he will never earn it. I don't care. It makes sense. But I don't think he'll ever win the big one. I think the league has passed him and his play style by. So, and yes, she went to Cam Newton press conference and asked him to clarify, asked him for a fucking apology. Apparently, I love this tweet. This is Jordan Rodriguez. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. God bless her. Beat reporter for the Charlotte Examiner, and beat reporter for the Panthers. She knows a little bit about football. More about football than Brian and I do combined.
Yeah.
And he could talk about football for 2 hours without me.
Right.
You should listen to those old shows or not.
Yeah.
Don't. Anyways, she wrote, I spoke with him after, and it was worse. I choose not to share because I have an actual job to do today, and one he will not keep me from. She further clarified in a statement. This afternoon, I did my job as an NFL beat writer and asked Cam Newton a question about one of his receivers. I was dismayed by his response, which not only belittled me, but countless other women before me and beside me who worked similar jobs. Newton out as he left the locker room for a few minutes later, and he did not apologize for his comments. So you know what? Let me parrot something. Yes, if I were the Carolina Panthers, I'd be very concerned the direction of my franchise. And you know what? And by the way, the official Carolina Panthers a Twitter account. For any statement of guilt, any statement of apologies from the Carolina Panthers official Twitter account, you will not find one. To say something and they haven't. So if the Carolina Panthers organization doesn't know how big of a fucking issue that is, they deserve all of the heat coming their way. If they were an organization, let's say Patriots. I don't want to compare the Panthers to a team that actually wins Super Bowls, but here we are. Let's say Tom Brady. By the way, Tom Brady, for all of his faults, something like this. Never, ever. Because Tom Brady is a mature adult. And you know what I will say? Eli Manning is a generally mature adult, except for his draft day nonsense that he had back when he was drafted. I don't want to play where I was drafted. Boo. Trade me to the Giants. Okay. Eli Manning has generally been pretty good, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Generally been all right.
Yeah.
Now, made condescending comments like that to a female reporter. Pretty sure Bill Belichick would bench his ass as soon as he finished that conference. He finished it. I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick would have walked out. Well, the backup's going to be starting this week because I am suspending my player for X amount of dollars, and the team is going to fine him that for his terrible comments. We as this comments do not reflect us as an organization. We are embarrassed by it, and we wholeheartedly and humbly apologize. I mean, that's what the Patriots would do. Actual winning franchise. A professional franchise because they fucking know better. This should be a giant scandal in the NFL at a time when the NFL does scandal. They're still friggin' reeling from the fact that one of us beat his another of the current players beat his son. players is still in the league. And we're trying Colin Kaepernick, who's not playing. Every team in the league is doing that now, at least every net now. The NFL does problem. So the fact that one of his franchise stars, Cam Newton, can't give a fucking proper press conference is a fucking embarrassment. 2007, you think throughout his years in the league, someone from the office could have told Cam, look, goddamn, just your interview. Shut your goddamn mouth.
Yeah.
Somebody in the Panthers organization would have took Cam beside today and say, hey, Cam, mouth.
Yeah.
Just answer the questions. Bored as fuck. Marshawn Lynch, I don't think has ever given an interview where he looks remotely interested in the content of the interview. We don't hear Marshawn Lynch, Mr. Beast Mode, complaining about interviews and who's giving the interview. Lynch couldn't care less. The question was, hey, Marshawn, about those questionable routes that were called today, or hey, Marshawn, what do you like, Chip or Rocky Road? Give a shit less.
Right.
Ice cream, because ice cream is better. But the point is this.
Yes.
The point is this. Should Cam Newton apology. And by the way, at this point, no apology could be enough. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't give one.
Exactly.
Newton should personal apology. And I'm not just talking about one of those fake ass social media. I'm sorry that I got caught up. He should contact this reporter and apologize vehemently for his behavior. He should be suspended and he should be fined. He's not going to get either. He might get a small slap on the wrist. Cam Newton will probably give the fakest fucking apology at a podium. The fakest. He will look like Marshawn Lynch when giving an apology. And as we established earlier, Marshawn Lynch doesn't give a fuck about questions. So just go on like business as normal. If I were this beat reporter, I don't know how I could continue to cover the Carolina Panthers. And you look, I tried to move to a different team, a winning team, like, I don't know, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Winning team? Hell no. Will their players treat her like this? But who knows? Probably not. I'm just saying.
Right.
I feel bad for this reporter. She was just doing her job. And from all accounts, she's a fantastic reporter. She did not deserve this. No female reporter deserves this. No reporter deserves this, except for maybe Colin Cowherd. But biased.
Colin Cowherd.
Biased. Even in all likelihood, Colin Cowherd doesn't deserve that. And I hate him. Doesn't deserve that.
Nothing if not.
So Cam Newton should be punished wholeheartedly, convincingly, to send a message to the other players, and the other players in the league, not okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it going to happen? Probably not, because of the NFL is consistent. Excuse me. It is very consistent with the fact that they won't act until it's a problem, but they won't act until it really blows up in their fucking face.
Somebody, one
City.
of our fans actually raised a good point. They said, I wonder, because he does have a lot of endorsements. You wonder how they're going to feel about this.
I can imagine Nike is not happy with Cam Newton today.
I don't think anybody would be, because you know that's going to have an impact. It ain't going to go away. This is not something that goes away. That clip gets played. That's going to be on That's going to be on all these news stations. It's going to be a big deal. And any apology, and like you said, he needs to make an apology. Certainly, I agree with you on that. But any apology he gives is going to come off as so fake and artificial, because it gives insight into how he feels and what he thinks.
Oh, and by the way, Cam Newton essentially kicked off October's NFL Wear Pink campaign for breast cancer awareness and research. Misogynistic.
This is something I'm telling you, folks. This is something that is not going to go away. He's going to be completely eviscerated over this for a long, long time. This is a bad thing. This is not something that goes away. It follows you. It follows you for the rest of your career and beyond. It really does. I know it's one comment, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, come on," all he has to do is demonstrate that he's a changed man at some point. That may be true, and he very well might change, and I hope he does. I really do. But it's gonna follow you. It really is. It's not just how he said what he said. It's the way he said it, and how he did it afterwards, and how unremorseful he was about it. That's really what it is. That makes it even worse than what he said. The whole thing collectively is just a bad look, a bad thing. And the NFL had another issue last weekend that got some play. It was not. I don't think it was on the scale of this. It was just more immaturity. Well, actually, it wasn't on the scale of this. It was just more immaturity. I wanted to just bring it up real quick. I don't know if you saw it, Mike, because whatever. But Antonio Brown, the wide receiver of the Steelers, got angry, and I was going to mention this earlier, that Ben Roethlisberger didn't throw to him. He was wide open, did not throw to him. Okay, went to the sidelines, had a hissy fit, threw the water cooler, and just started yelling profanities and basically throwing a major temper tantrum right in the middle of the game. It got picked up by a lot of sports stations. It was a big source discussion. Ben Roethlisberger commented on it, saying, well, I would hope that, when something like that happens, I'd rather have him say, come up to me and say, hey, you know what? You missed me. What were you looking at? Why did you miss me? Keep it internal and be mature about it. He was talked to. It was a big deal. Look, here's the thing, okay? And again, what Cam Newton did is on another level. But there's a lot of immaturity in this league. A lot of immaturity in this league. Okay? If you're going to have a freaking hissy fit that you didn't get the ball, Mike, you watch a lot of basketball. How many times does a point guard miss an open guy, open guard, open forward, whatever?
All the time.
And do they throw a temper tantrum like that?
Rarely.
Rarely. It's a part of the game. Sometimes you just miss. Now, if it happens, let me put it this way. Okay, if it happens all the time, like maybe Roethlisberger's cherry picking, he's constantly throwing to the same receiver, and he's missing you, and you're the best guy in the team, and you're wide open. If it's a routine, if it's a regular happening, you go talk to the guy. Even if it's whether it's one time, if it's 8 times, you go talk to the guy. You don't have a hissy fit. You're an adult. Kids are watching these games. I mean, come on. Do you have any? These people have? Do they have any sense of like what people are watching, and any sense of decorum, any sense of immaturity? Some of these athletes, really. And then you get today with Cam Newton. Now, again, what Cam Newton did is on a whole other level of wrong.
Stupidity. And stupidity.
And stupidity, right. But again, this is indicative of the NFL. It has a lot of issues with its players. A lot of issues, and they do not nip it in the bud. They do not deal with it the proper way. They do not deal with it the right way. And you know what? People keep making the ratings argument. Oh, it's about all the controversy. I'm telling you right now, the ratings were going down last year. Okay, before any of the political stuff in there, the ratings have been going down. Quality of play is a big thing, but the other thing is people are seeing the amount of domestic violence, the immaturity, instance like what's happened with Cam today. They're seeing this and they don't want to see it. They're done. They're like, you know what? I don't like what this league is. I don't like it. I don't want my kids watching it. That's what it's becoming. It's more to do with that than it does with anything else. It's like you don't have, I mean, the amount of positive role models decreases with the day in that league. And there are some good people, good role models. I'm not saying they're all bad. Don't get me wrong. But there's a whole lot of bad. And we've been seeing that. And it's just, you know, that's why people are kind of like turning it off and saying, hey, I'd rather go watch baseball. I'd rather go watch them because at least I feel like it's not happening anywhere near this level. Major problems for the NFL, that's for sure. All right, let's get out of football. It's October. It's baseball, playoffs.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
One of this reporter's colleagues actually did write on this.
Okay.
Generally kind of stated what happened in that second conversation. She asked the quarterback if he didn't really think to understand roots. Newton said, and this is speculation, not speculating, but this is paraphrasing, of course. She was just seeing if somebody, she wasn't really seeing specific routes when watching the game. She was just seeing if somebody was open. She argued that he didn't know what she saw nor how hard she studied football, and maybe the two of them needed to have a deeper conversation. Newton said maybe he should have said it was funny to hear reporters talk about roots and that. If she actually did know about them, then she knew more than most reporters. Then he gestured towards the locker room still filled with her colleagues. Rodriguez ended by asking Newton who she had introduced himself to on her first day of her employment. If he knew her name, after she had covered the team almost every day for the past 3 years, Newton said he did not. Charlotte Observer, she said, and then walked away. Panther spokesman did say late afternoon, I have spoken with Jordan and Cam, and I know they had a conversation where he expressed regret for using those words. He didn't. We strive as a department to make the environment for the media comfortable for everyone covering the team. What should have been forthcoming immediately from the quarterback was, of course, an apologize, but Cam Newton, of course, did not apologize. He continued to belittle her, and it was embarrassing. It was a damn embarrassment, and that's what Cam Newton is. Now, all right, let's stop talking about the national football embarrassment. Baseball. And I cannot believe I just said that. God, I hate myself today. Fucking baseball. I just had to quote Colin Cowherd, Brian. Quoted Colin Cowherd. And it made sense. Can we talk about Aaron Judge, please?
Yeah, I'd like to. So let's talk about that, because last night we had a wild card playoff game. Tonight we have another wild card playoff game. Let me give you a quick update on that game because obviously that's significant. The NL wild card game between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies. Pardon me, I almost forgot who it was. And right now the score is, it was 4-0. I'm trying to bring up the thing. My thing isn't updating here. Oh, right here. 6-4 Arizona in the top of the fourth. So another game with a lot of offense, which makes it interesting. Just like last night. Top of the fourth. Again, Colorado has a man on first. 2 outs game on TBS. So 6-4 in favor of Arizona right now. Arizona, the overwhelming favorite, much like the Yankees were last night. The Yankees, of course, last night. One of the wildest wild card games in a different way. Because obviously when you think of wild game, you think, oh, a lot of comebacks, a lot of late game heroics, that kind of thing. To me, really, a lot of the action in this game took place in the first 3 innings. You know, you brought Luis Severino out there. He just and folks, I'm gonna go. I wish I could have gone on the air before today and said this. Let me be honest with you all. The only reason I was worried about this game from a Yankee standpoint was Luis Severino. I like Luis Severino. He's the ace of the Yankees. 2 weeks ago, he pitched against the Minnesota Twins and had one of his, if not his worst start, one of his worst starts of his year against them. They are a fastball hitting team. His best pitch is his fastball. They sit on fastball on every pitch. He lasted only 3 innings through 71 pitches. He did not look good in that start. I did not like the idea of pitching him in this game against Minnesota. Any other team I would have been fine with. Against Minnesota, I did not like it. I thought it might be a problem. It turned out to be a problem. Everybody wants to make it about nerves. I don't think it was about nerves last night. Maybe he was a little amped up, sure, and that's going to happen. But if you look at the way what he was pitching, okay, he's a fastball pitcher. Okay. He's going to elevate. He wants to blow it past you. The Twins don't let you do that. The Twins are a fastball hitting team. You have got to locate with them. And if you're going to throw, if your game is fastballs up in the zone to try to go past them, you're not going to do well. It's not going to happen. So I didn't like the matchup to begin with. Now, was I surprised he gave up 2 home runs in the first inning last night? Yeah, I was. Because I didn't think it'd be quite that demonstrative early on. I didn't think it would be like that. I thought you get a couple innings out of him. Maybe he gives up 3-4 runs on them couple innings. I didn't think it'd be like that. And I also want to point this out, too. 2 people last night, and this is from the Yankee fans' perspective, okay? And this is why you don't go people, you know, you never go crazy early on in a career or when somebody first makes a trade or something. Didi Gregorius was traded. It was Jeter's replacement. He was traded for a couple years ago from Arizona. Didi Gregorius had as bad of a first 2 months in a Yankee uniform as you ever see. It reminded me a lot of Tino Martinez way back in the 90s. They were ready to run him out of town after 9 games. And last night, he's had a lot of big hits, and he's just gotten better and better as a player. He had the biggest hit of the game last night in tying that game in the first inning. He had the biggest hit of the game last night in the first inning. Didi Gregorius is a phenomenal baseball player. He's a phenomenal person. He's a great role model. If not for Aaron Judge, I think he'd be the next captain of the Yankees because he's that kind of guy. He's a heart and soul kind of guy. And people are ready to run him out of town 2 years ago. So people that are wrong about him should apologize. And, you know, Joe Girardi gets a lot of flack. And I give him a lot of criticism too. Maybe not as much as some people. But what he did last night, okay, because everybody gives the whole, oh, he manages with the binder. He doesn't manage with his gut. Oh, he micromanages all season, da-da-da-da. One of the reasons why Joe Girardi does what he does in the season is so that he can do what he did last night. And if he doesn't do what he did last night, they're going home. His taking Severino out when he did was a no-brainer. But putting Chad Green in, one of his ace relievers in the first inning, was one of the best moves I can ever think of from a manager. Because you don't think like that. When your pitcher exits that early, you're thinking, well, all right, I don't want to move guys around too much. I'm going to go to my starter that I put on the roster. I'm going to go to the starter, and then I'll go into my late inning relievers later in the game. He didn't think that. He said, this is a high leverage situation. I got 2 men on here with 1 out. I don't know if we can come back from 5-0. I know we have a good offense. I know we can come back from 3-0. I don't know if we can come back from 5-0. He goes to the strikeout artist. He comes in, strikes out the next 2 batters. In my opinion, are the 2 biggest outs of the game. And they never look back. From that point on, Minnesota scored in 8 2/3 innings, 13 strikeouts by the Yankee bullpen. Minnesota only scores 1 run. Yankees win the game 8-4. Judge did great. Sanchez did great. Gregorius, we talked about. Bird had a big hit. This is a big game in a lot of ways, and this is why when we do this playoff preview, it's a big game. And this is why I think it's better we did this now. Because here's the thing. One of the criticisms you're going to have of the Yankees going into this playoffs is none of these guys have experience except for Gardner, Sabathia, don't have the experience. They're all young. They got experience last night, and this is one of the benefits of this wild card game. Last night's essentially a Game 7. It's a Game 7. There's no tomorrow. And they, not only all of them, okay, I mean, obviously Severino didn't play well, but everybody else played well in that game. They didn't not only play well, they were extremely successful in that game. Extremely successful in that game. All of a sudden now, you're experienced. You're ready to go. And that changes your whole outlook with that team. Now, negatively going forward, you wonder about the bullpen. Because, yes, you'll have Chapman. He only pitched the 1 inning. Betances, don't really trust him right now, but you have him. You have Adam Warren. You still have some guys. But you won't have Robertson. He probably needs an extra day. You won't have Canely. You won't have Green. So you are a little bit more compromised, but it's the postseason. You figure it out, and you hope you get some length out of your starter. And the Yankees have announced finally their 2 starters for the first 2 games, and I'm pleased with them. I might have flip-flopped them, to be honest, but I'm okay with it. Gray goes in game 1. Sabathia goes in game 2. I like it. I think Sabathia needs to pitch early in the series. He's the guy with the most experience. And Gray has postseason. I think that's what they're thinking. Severino doesn't have the experience. Not that they don't trust him, but they want to try to get off to a good start in the series. And you get the guys that are unflappable and have been there. Gray's been there with Oakland and can maybe put up a good postseason start. So I like that move. Cleveland has already announced their pitching in a rather strange move. Although if you go according to what a lot of managers, including Joe Torre, used to say, game 2 is your big game. Cleveland's going to go with Trevor Bauer in game 1. They're going to go with Corey Kluber, the guy that I expect to be named AL Cy Young, in game 2. And then Carrasco in game 3. The Yankees have not announced a game 3 starter. Again, why Kluber in game 2 and not game 1? Well, Kluber still gets to pitch twice if needed. He'll pitch game 2, game 5. But Francona has the same mentality as Joe Torre staff. You think game 2 is the biggest game. Whether you're down 0-1 or up 1-0. You're up 1-0, you have a chance to put a stranglehold on the series. If you're down 0-1, you need to send your best pitcher out there to try to prevent it from going to 0-2. That's the way you do it. And I think the Yankees did that too. Because many people thought they were going to try to put Severino in that game too because he faced Kluber early in the year. They didn't. They put Sabathia there because I think they feel like Sabathia is not going to be afraid of the moment. He's got postseason experience. And they know he's going to go out there and battle. And that's what you want in that kind of game. So, I think you saw both managers really look at game 2 and say, I want to try to put my best effort there in game 2. So we'll see how that goes. I thought Minnesota played extreme. I thought Minnesota came up with a great game plan last night. I think, unfortunately for them, that long inning, I think, kind of screwed over Irvin Santana. I think Irvin Santana he's never been great against the Yankees, especially in that building, but I think Irvin Santana would have put in a much better start if he didn't have to sit for 30 minutes in the first inning. He even said that himself, that he felt like he was great in the bullpen, but then something just didn't work. So I think the sitting down hurt him. But I thought Minnesota wasn't supposed to be here. Granted, the rest of the wild card contenders kind of came back down to earth, and they were the kind of survivor, but I thought Minnesota had a great season, and they had a great run. I thought they played really well last night in the early innings. They just kind of, I think, once Didi hit that home run, I think that you took the gas right out of the Minnesota Twins. I really do. I think that's what happened. So Yankees move on, and obviously, you feel good about things, but you're playing the best team in the American League. It's going to be a tough matchup, very tough matchup. You wait and see. Now, on the flip side here, on the other side of the American League, you got Houston and Boston. And Houston's kind of done the same thing as Cleveland. Even though, Verlander is by no stretch of imagination a slouch here, they put their best pitcher, Keuchel, in game 2. For probably the same reasons as Francona put Kluber in game 2. Now, Verlander does have more of the postseason experience. So putting him in game 1, and he's pitched very well for Houston, is not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. Because he's not going to be undaunted. He's not going to fear the moment. So I kind of like what Houston did. I really do. I kind of like what Houston did. Now, Boston, of course, they go with as I look at the pitching match. To go with Sale in game 1. I'm just going to put down here. I'm trying to look at the rest of the pitching matchups here, so bear with me here. Let's see. I'm going to have to go to the schedule because it's not up here. Here we go. All right, so Boston goes with Chris Sale in game 1, obviously. So great matchup there. Game 2, they're going to go with Drew Pomeranz. And in game 3, I'm going to pull this up. That's Friday, October 6th. We don't want that. We want Sunday. Here you go. All right. Not announced. So they don't have that yet. All right. So obviously won't be Price. He's in the bullpen. So Boston with their best too. And we saw what Houston did. On the NL side, here's what you got to look for here. Let me get this on here. Pick a day. All right, here we go. Because this is not the best thing here. Schedule here. All right, so all right, we said Boston, Houston. We said New York and Cleveland. I'm looking for the NL schedule. It's not giving it to me. Oh, here it is. All right, NL starts on Friday. So both AL series start tomorrow. NL starts on Friday along with 2 AL series. In their game 2s. So you got Chicago and Washington. Here's their pitching matchups. Kyle Hendricks versus undecided. Washington still has not decided their game 1 starter. Now, that has a lot to do with the fact that Max Scherzer has a hamstring injury. They haven't decided their game 2 start either. Cubs have announced John Lester is their game 2 starter. So we don't know who Washington's going to start. And if Max Scherzer is hurt, Washington's not winning that series. I don't care. I know they got a little bit more depth at pitching than the Cubs, but they're not going to win without Max Scherzer. I'm sorry, they're just not. They're just not. Cubs game 3 starter will be game 4 starter will be Jose Quintana. Game 3 starter Jose Quintana, and then game 4, if there is one, they've announced is Jake Arrieta. So Dodgers and Arizona or Colorado, none of that has been announced yet because obviously the Dodgers are waiting for an opponent. Arizona and Colorado are still playing things out. So we don't know anything about that yet or the schedule. We just know about the series we know. So as you look at this from a preview standpoint, okay, let's look at the NL series first. I think Arizona's going to win tonight. They're in the top of the 5th. Arizona leads 6-4 over the Rockies with nobody out in the top of the 5th. Again, this game on TBS. I think Arizona's going to win tonight. I think Arizona's the better team. Both these teams, I think, could beat the Dodgers. They play the Dodgers enough. They know each other. The Dodgers are not what they were in August. They have shown themselves to have flaws. You worry a lot about the pitching holding up. You worry about certain parts of the offense doing the job. I have to be honest with you. The Dodgers have done this to a lot of people. They've had some great seasons, and they get to the first round of the playoffs, and they lay an egg, just like the Nationals do. They just, for some reason, it just, especially in the first round, the short series can lend itself to upsets. When you get into the league championship series, usually the better team wins. But in a short series like the LDS, it can be tough. I'm going to be honest with you. Arizona has played really good baseball for the last 3 months of the season. And I think Arizona might end up being the better team, especially offensively. I think offensively, they're just a better team than the Dodgers are. I really do. I really believe that they can hit. They got JD Martinez. They got Gosher. They can hit. I think if I'm the Dodgers, I'm really afraid of Arizona. I really am. Because they have hitters that can hit good pitching. That's scary. So I have to be honest with you. I think I see a shock in the first round with the Dodgers beating Arizona beating the Dodgers. I see that. And look, to me, so much is going to be on Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw has not had the best playoff history. You know, I think they'll get some good stuff out of Yu Darvish. I think some of the other pitchers will do the job. But boy, if Kershaw has the ability to change this entire series, if he comes out there and has a vintage Clayton Kershaw performance, once or probably needs to go twice in this series, to be honest. He probably has to have two, because I think this series is going to go long, because I think Arizona's going to be very tough to get out. So I think Kershaw's got to come up with his two best performances of his career. I really think that, because I think Arizona is going to be tough on the Dodgers. So this whole series to me rests on Clayton Kershaw. And if he delivers, I think the Dodgers have a chance. If they don't, I think the Diamondbacks will beat them. If it's the Rockies, I think the Dodgers will win. That's not a knock on the Rockies. I don't think they're ready yet. But Arizona, I think, is ready to at least get to the LCS. I think they're good enough. So if it's Arizona, I like Arizona in 5. I really do. Even if that game's in LA, I like Arizona. And you know, we'll see what the pitching matchups are and see what they decide to do, because that, no matter what they do, I still think I like Arizona over the Dodgers. But as far as the Cubs in the Nationals, this to me is as easy as pie. If Scherzer doesn't play, this series is easy. I think Cubs in 4. If Max Scherzer pitches and he's his normal self, I think this series goes 5. I think the Nationals have a chance. I still pick the Cubs, even though the Cubs have not been as good this year. Starting pitching-wise, it has not been pretty at times, but they've gotten the job done. They can still hit, and their bullpen is still pretty good. Maybe better than it was last year, to be honest, in terms of depth. To me, Max is the key. If he doesn't pitch, if he doesn't pitch effectively, this makes it very easy for Chicago. If he pitches and he pitches effectively, I think this becomes a decent series and we go 5. Either way, I'm picking the Cubs, because I just don't think, for some reason, I just don't trust the Nationals in the playoffs. Like I don't trust the Dodgers. They've never played well. They got to prove me wrong. They've had so many chances in the first round, especially, and they just don't do well. They just can't get out of it. Dodgers have once or twice gotten out of the first round, and they haven't done well in the second round, but they've had a lot of first round upsets too. So I like the Cubs and the Diamondbacks for the LCS. That's what I like. You know, I just think, you know, I think the Cubs have more experience. I think Washington and LA, for some reason, just don't do well in the playoffs. I think, and as far as the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks goes, especially on the note of the fact that the Diamondbacks have played better baseball consistently lately. And I think they can hit. I think they have the better offense. So Diamondbacks and Cubs for me is my NLCS. And that's shocking, because I thought I was going to easily pick the Dodgers 2 months ago, but the 7 wins good, and the Diamondbacks have. On the AL side, I think Houston's going to beat Boston. A lot of people are like, well, you know, Boston and Houston played last weekend, so they know they're familiar with each other. I don't think that makes a difference. I just think Houston's better. You know, and I don't, unlike with the Yankees and the Indians, you know, I don't see a lot of momentum here. Like I'm not going to pick the Yankees to beat the Indians. No, spoiler, I'm not going to pick them. But if the Yankees did beat the Indians, I would think that's because they won 20 games in September. They have momentum. They're hot. Everything's clicking together for them right now. The rotation's been a little bit more consistent down the stretch. The bullpen has fixed itself other than Betances, and the offense has come alive. They've had more momentum than Boston. Boston just kind of survived the late season. And Houston, after going through a little bit of a rut, had come out of it in the last 3 weeks of the season. And I think Houston's has more pitching depth. I think they had a better bullpen. I think they got more pitching depth. So and they have more power too. We know they can hit more home runs. Boston struggled with power and home runs all year. So I like Houston to win. I like Houston to win the series in 4 over Boston. And I also think too, with Boston not announced, I mean, Boston, once you get beyond Sale and Pomerantz, I don't even know if I trust Pomerantz in the playoffs at this point. You gotta prove it to me. But you know, you don't know. I mean, beyond those two, who are you pitching? Who's gonna be a guy that you want in a game 3 or 4 scenario? I mean, maybe you bring Sale back in game 4. You got that, but who's your game 3? You can't use Price. It's a problem. So I think there's a problem there for Boston. I like Houston. I like Houston in 4. I think Boston will get a game, at least. Yankees and Indians. To me, this is an easy series to look at because now that we know the game ones and game two starters, I think if you're the Yankees, okay, you're very loosey goose because nobody expected you to be here, and the game that you had to win was yesterday and you won it, and that doesn't mean you don't want to keep winning. But and obviously I think there's confidence. Like I said, they have the momentum. They have a lot of things on their side. Obviously, Cleveland's the best team in the American League. They've proven that. They're the favorite here. Now they have to win the series to go to the World Series. They might be the favorite to win the World Series right now. Their bullpen's really good. They got starting pitching depth. They got clutch hitting. They're a very good baseball team. Better than I think if to me, the winner of this series might very well be the AL representative for the World Series, because no two teams in the AL have more momentum than the Indians and the Yankees. No two teams. The thing for the Yankees is they don't, if Severino's not on, they don't have their version of Corey Kluber, because Severino was their version of Corey Kluber, and Corey Kluber is a game changer, and he's going to keep things in line. That if it goes 5 games, he pitches twice. So that's a tremendous advantage to have that kind of pitcher, especially in a short series. To me, the Yankees, even though, again, you're loosey-goosey, you don't want to put too much pressure to go out there and have fun. It's what they did last night and it worked out. I think you do go in with the mentality. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself, but I think you go into tomorrow night with the mentality you want to get game 1. Because they're helping. Trevor Bauer is a very good pitcher. I'm not trying to diminish what he's done. Trevor Bauer is a very good pitcher, but he's not Corey Kluber. Okay, he's somebody that they can hit. There's somebody they can do things with. You have to look at this if you're the Yankees and go, if we can get game 1, we know we're gonna get at least 2 games in our building. We have a chance to get this done without having to beat Kluber. We go into that Kluber game in game 2 with the idea that, can you imagine this? We win game 1. Okay, let's say they win game 1. You go into that game against Kluber with a lot of pressure off you. You don't have to face, the idea of being down 0-2 with Corey Kluber on the mound. And then you go, oh, hey, you know what? You start thinking to yourself, boy, if we can somehow figure out a way to win this game, we go back home 2-0. So it changes so much if you can take that game 1, because that's the first thing everybody thought. At first, everybody was kind of like, what's Francona doing? But then once you've kind of heard the rationale, like, oh, all right, Houston's doing the same thing. You understand it. But you think about it this way, too. In a way, it helps the Yankees a little bit because you're not facing Kluber in game 1. So you have the opportunity to steal the first game, which could set the tone for the entire series. So to me, if I'm the Yankees, again, you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. You go out there and try to get game 1. Because that way you set the tone for the entire series. And I think Sonny Gray has to come up big tomorrow night. I think Sonny Gray, one of the problems with Sonny Gray is he's been very good at limiting damage and keeping things to 3 runs or less. Problem is, guys throw too many pitches. Tomorrow night, they really need Sonny Gray to go 5 or 6 innings, 5-6 quality innings, and help the bullpen out so that he can be fully staffed for Friday night. To me, that's key tomorrow too. And in terms of the lineup, I think you just do what you keep on doing. He's going to have a strong bench. He's got Holiday. He's got a good strong bench. Girardi. You feel good about the Yankees. If there's anybody else, I think you might pick them to win the series. But the Indians are just very, very good. The idea of Kluber going twice in the series. Carrasco's been pitching very, very well. The only games that I see as, potential games on paper where you think the Yankees have a little bit more of an edge, game 4, Josh Tomlin, I think, is beatable for them. Bauer, I think, is somewhat beatable, but he's better than Tomlin. So, you look at those 2 games as possible games the Yankees have a little bit more going for them as far as the starting pitching goes, or at least they're on more of an equal playing field. But if you look at Kluber in game 2 and Carrasco in game 3, they pitched so well over these last couple months that you have to figure that Cleveland has the edge in those 2 games. And then you bring back Kluber for game 5. And I know what some people are saying, oh, Josh Tomlin probably won't pitch game 4. They'll probably bring back Bauer in there. You're probably right. But either way, I feel like they have the advantage in game 4, the Yankees there. So we'll see. I'm picking Cleveland. I'm picking Cleveland right now in 4 because I think Cleveland's very, very good. Could I see it going 5? Certainly, but I'm picking Cleveland in 4 because I think Kluber's going to. I think they're going to win the Kluber start. And I think even Game 3 at Yankee Stadium worries me a little bit because I think Carrasco's going to be very good. So to me, if I as it stands right now, I think the Yankees might surprise and win tomorrow night. And I think that, and like if I'm picking the Indians to win in 4. I'm assuming that's the only game they're going to get. So, but we'll see. The Yankees could do it, but I think the Indians are just so good. So as you look at the playoff predictions, as I said right now, I picked the Indians over the Yankees in 4, Houston over Boston in 4, Chicago over Washington. I'm going to pick. I'll say Max is going to pitch. So I'll say Chicago over Washington in 5. And assuming it's the Diamondbacks, I'm going to pick Diamondbacks over Dodgers in 5. I think all these series are going to go. At least, I don't think any sweeps. I don't think we'll get any sweeps. So I'm going with Diamondbacks and Cubs in the NLCS, Houston and Cleveland in the ALCS, but it's kind of predictable, but whatever. I like Cleveland to beat Houston in 6. And I like Chicago to beat the Diamondbacks in 7. I think that series will go 7. I think there'll be a lot of offense in that series. So I like Chicago and Indians to, and I know that's kind of predictable and kind of lazy, but I like Chicago and Cleveland in the World Series. I think this time the Indians do it. I think the Indians do it in 7. Same situation as last, just reverse. Again, not really going out on too much of a limb, but whatever. So that's how I see. That's my playoff preview. That's how I see it going. We'll obviously follow the games as we go along. Talk about them live in game, like tonight. We're right now at 6-4 Arizona, bottom of the 5th. The game again on TBS, 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. Anything that big happens, we'll talk about as we go along. We'll make different predictions as we go along. All of that good stuff. It's the postseason. Should be fun. Should be some good series. Lots of good teams here to play to see. Lots of good storylines. I think it's gonna be fun. The playoff race wasn't as fun as we thought, but we had a good wild card game last night. Good wild card start tonight. I think and so playoffs off to a decent start. Hopefully they continue on that path. So, so I'll leave it at that with the baseball because we have a couple of other real sports stories I want to bring up really quickly. Before we wind down, first of all, I want to bring up an update on the college basketball, which isn't a lot. It's just that Rick Pitino is still claiming he'll be vindicated. I guess he's selling his home. He's going down to Miami. Still claiming he's going to be vindicated. David Padgett was named interim coach. So that's where they're at right now. There are not much updates there. So not much to talk about there. I just thought I'd bring that up. As far as David Padgett goes, he was a solid player. Right now I just think nobody else wants a job. They just gave it to somebody that was willing to take it on. So, that's what it is. I don't really have any much of opinion on that. And Rick Pitino, he's been actually named. He's in the court documents as coach 2. In the case documents as coach 2. He claims to be vindicated. He claims that it was just, he claims it's not all what it was, what it seems. I don't know. We'll see how that all pans out. I mean, I don't know what people expected him to say. We'll see. It's a story that we're going to be following. I know Richard Pitino finally commented that's got to be an awkward situation for him. It's going to be very hard for him to coach. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a leave of absence. That's a hard situation to be in. So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a leave. It might be good for him to do that. Maybe even for the program, because that's something that's got to be hard to do. So, so we'll see if that happens, because I think that might be what ends up happening, because that's a very difficult situation for him. So that wasn't something that's worth discussing. That was something I wanted to throw out there, because people sometimes, once you get beyond the initial first couple of days of a story, sometimes it kind of fades to the background. That's a couple of the little updates that have been going on over the last week with that story. Speaking of college basketball, on another note, I'll bring this up because I saw Michael make a comment on it. Grayson Allen will be regaining his captain's position this season. How do you feel about that one, Mike?
I'm going to keep it real. I thought you were still talking about baseball, and I was preparing thoughts on baseball. Like, hey, did y'all see that Didi home run? What a clutch home run. Man, Reno really shut the Beto in the first inning, maybe because he's a fastball pitcher pitching against a team who likes to sit on fastballs. Wasn't really the best choice, but what are you going to do then? Pitch your ace, and then face Joe Girardi actually managed in the game and managed wonderfully, proving why, hey, every now and then Joe Girardi can still manage a hell of a game. By the way, Todd Frazier didn't fuck up any ground balls. That's a good start for the Yankees. That's a great start. And, Aaron Judge hitting another useless home run. Wink. It's not useless. It's essentially won the game for them. And my final thought was, of course, poor Gary Sanchez. Poor Gary Sanchez.
By the way, did you see Robertson's reaction to that?
Yes, he really felt that pain.
We all felt that pain.
We all felt that pain. It was foul tipped into his nuts. And you could say it, you could be like, oh, well, that didn't hit his nuts. No, it hit right where testicles and penis would be.
It was bad.
It was very bad. But hey, this is where I don't understand why the Twins were favored to win this. The Yankees had all the momentum going into this game. So the Yankees probably and they had, I mean, Yankees just had a better offensive lineup to begin with, even though the Twins went up 3-0 in the first. By the end of the first, it was tied because, hey, remember that guy you tried to run out of?
Yeah.
A couple of when he first got there. Yeah, he's your shortstop of the future. That deal looks really good now, doesn't it?
Got him for pretty much nothing.
And he's going to be your shortstop for years to come. Todd Frazier, on the other hand, I'm hoping learns how to play third base better.
He's a free agent anyway.
I'm sure they'll re-sign him. I mean, he does all right for them. But that Aaron Judge hype train keeps on going. He probably will be Rookie of the Year. Yes, he is a strong contender for the MVP. And yes, the Cleveland Indians are heavily favorited over the Yankees. But you never know. There's a reason why it goes 7 games.
5.
The Yankees, whatever. Do I think the Yankees are going to win? I don't know. It's hard to say. Do I think the Indians have more than a chance to getting back to where they were last year before they literally gave the title to the Chicago Cubs? Absolutely. Are they literally going to give the title to the NL team? If history repeats, yes. But we're not there yet. So Yankees, Indians, a very, very passing glance on this series. Grayson Allen.
Isn't it? Hey, Mike, isn't this a trip?
Give him his captainship back.
What a trip.
A fall because Duke is looking for a trip. Grayson Allen still doesn't know not to trip players. And they made him a captain.
They just gave him back his old title. It's like last year never happened.
But it did. Grayson Allen is captain again.
You know how before every game they send the captains out to shake hands and stuff. You know how that works.
Sure. Yes, I do.
I'm sure that's going to go over well across all the ACC, and then when he goes out there to shake hands,
they're like, "Hey, Grayson, fuck you."
Because
that
look,
just gave us 6 fouls on this guy tonight.
It's not just the fans that get on him. That a lot of the players around. I mean, Grant. I hope for the kid's sake he's learned the line. He's not going to do it anymore. But around the conference and around the sport that there's a lot of them that just don't respect him because of what he did.
Yes, and he's got a long way to go to make up for that. And look, if his teammates think, I will say this: if his teammates think, because that's essentially who votes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the coaches have a say too.
Right.
But if his teammates think that Grayson Allen has matured enough to the fact that they're going to grant him back his captainship, at least until the first technical foul. And you know what? That is an excellent sign of maturity up until the first technical foul. So that's great. He's matured to the point where he won't he won't send have a temper tantrum whenever he has an actual call against him.
Right.
And yes, the players around the ACC and the general NCAA, I mean, they'll say they respect him.
Right.
Respect is earned. And when you're over there having a temper tantrum on the sidelines because you didn't get the ball, then fuck off. Fuck off.
We have one more real story to get to. And this is probably not going to take much longer to talk about, but the NBA has changed the rules for the All-Star game. They will no longer be doing East and West. They're going to have the captains. They're going to vote captains. The fans are going to vote captains. And then the captains will pick teams.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to LeBron James and Stephen Curry picking their friends.
Yeah. So here, but now I will say this much because I think this is dumb. Okay, and you're right. It's going to be LeBron and Curry, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. You know what's going to make it interesting? Because because the idea is, and people were talking about this yesterday. There's going to be a lot of pressure because there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to pick the most talented guys, right? And because they don't want to look absurd PR-wise, they're like, well, you didn't pick so and so, whatever, and they had these stats. They don't want to be looked at as bad by the fans, right? So with that kind of pressure on them, do you think that LeBron James, okay, will pick Kyrie Irving?
Well, okay. Interpreted the news wrong or right is that the fans still vote the players in.
Right, but you got to pick the players.
But the two captains have to pick from that pool of players who was voted in their team.
Right.
Will LeBron pick Kyrie? Because we all know that Kyrie Irving ain't going to fucking be a captain.
Right.
Would he? Probably. Is Kyrie Irving sitting there praying to God that Steph Curry picks him for his squad? Yes.
See,
but do I think? But would LeBron his All-Star team? Yeah, he would 100%.
See, I could see LeBron doing what
Kyrie
either side.
Immediately demand to trade to the other team.
Yeah. I could see him going both ways because I could see him saying, you know what, this will be something that gets me a lot of good attention. If I pick him, it's so that it's gone and it's over with, it's done. You know what I mean? But then I could also see him saying, you know what, I can't work with this guy. Let him go on the other side. Now on the flip side, okay, because like Mike said, Curry's probably going to be the captain on the other side, right? So
it'll be Curry or Durant.
Okay, so it's Durant. It makes even this point I'm going to make even makes more sense. But whether it's Curry or Durant, okay, because it'll probably be one or the other, I imagine. Do you think that they pick Russell Westbrook? Because if it's Curry, Durant might say, "Hey, I don't want Russ on this team."
Because if it's Steph, if it's Steph, his A1 day one pick is going to be Durant.
Yes, no doubt.
Or what's his face? Afro Man there. Who's Afro Man on the team?
Afro Man.
His face. Because he got high. Because he got high.
Thompson, Clay.
Because he got high. Clay Thompson, that's right.
Yeah, Clay.
Even now, I still call him Afro Man.
Yeah.
Curry.
Yeah,
My
you're right.
day one pick would be Clay or Durant.
He'll pick Durant first.
He'll pick Durant fird.
Yeah, he'll pick Durant first.
But would they want Russ?
That's the question.
Oh, it'd be awful.
It does make for interesting. It does make it interesting though to see that though. It's gonna be interesting.
It does put interesting dynamics that are just made more complicated by the fact that you're just going to have two players, two captains, pick their squads, if you will. Now, they could have just – and look, the old – I honestly think this new system is dumb as fuck.
I agree. I do agree. Even though it's so interesting, I agree.
Because, look, East versus West was fine. Well, now you're playing for charity. Now it'll count. Well, it counted in baseball for like 10 years, and still nobody gave a fuck about it. Come on.
They're just working overtime to try to make it important. That's all they're doing.
You want to play for charity? Fine. One charity gets the East. The one charity gets the West. The winner, they both get money. Maybe the winning team, the West, maybe gets a little bit more, just a little bit more. But they'll both get an absurd amount of money. So our system is dumb as shit. So
I mean,
I don't understand. Look, here's my feeling. If it was good enough for Jordan, good enough for Kobe, if it's good enough for Bird and Magic, it's sure as shit good enough for these guys.
Right.
They aren't even on that level, except for maybe LeBron. I may at this point in his career, I probably put LeBron on that level. He's low, but he's in the conversation, and that's all LeBron wants.
He's got there. He's there.
He's there.
But look, it is interesting because it's interesting from a drama standpoint because you're like, well, will they pick them, whatever. It's going to be interesting in that regard. But yeah, I agree. It's really I appreciate what they're trying to do. The charity thing, I think, is a nice thing to do. I appreciate it, but it's just, you know, it's just not. It's unnecessary. You know, to me, and you know my feeling on this. NBA All-Star Weekend has and will always be about Friday and Saturday night. And
the games. Look, the game hasn't mattered in a while, but look, they were competitive as hell.
Yeah.
The early 90s. They went at each other.
There was bragging rights.
It was bragging rights. Jordan wanted bragging rights every year over the West.
Yeah.
Wanted bragging rights for the East. Karl Malone. Gary Payton. Gary Payton was on Jordan the whole time. Pippen.
Yeah.
Robinson. These guys wanted to compete. Wanted to just compete. They wanted to go to war.
Right.
Current NBA, that game is just, we're not going to play defense. Get your shit in.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
No. If they want to do that, then they need to find a way to fucking mandate it. If you're an all-star, you're there to compete. You're not there to pussyfoot around.
I think in a lot of ways, though, it's so much of a reflection of the guys. You remember you had those like guys like Shaq and that kept that kind of passion alive. You know, and these guys, they have passion, but it has its limits. And look, it's unfortunate, but I mean, look, the game is just meant to be fun, and I mean, that's what it's meant to be. You want to add a charity tilt to it, fine. Just keep it the way it was. The whole East-West thing was fine. You don't need to. It's just trying to overdo it now. That's what they're trying to do. And again, to me, NBA All-Star Weekend is about that Saturday night anyway. So, but I appreciate what they're trying to do with the charity thing and everything. So, one last thing too. By the way, we spoke about Russell Westbrook. He signed an extension. Big deal.
I guess this is huge.
Highest paid deal in NBA history. So, and apparently it's gotten Carmelo and Paul George's attention. Both of them are said to be interested in staying. So,
well, they didn't know if Russell Westbrook was going to stay after this year. So
it was
the
surprising.
fact that he agreed to it, didn't want to test the market. was very, very surprising, because what I thought was going to happen is eventually Russ was going to leave.
Yeah, so did I.
Durant would come back, and Durant would try to make good.
You had the same theory I did. I thought that too. I never felt like Durant was done there. So yeah, we had the same idea.
I didn't either, but all this assures me, all this says to me, it's not coming back for a while. Durant's going to be in Golden State or wherever he ends up he's going to have an extended tenure away from OKC. Melo and George might be maybe looking to play there for a while, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to need more than Melo and George.
Yeah. I mean,
they're going to need a guy who can distribute the ball.
I do think what's happened here.
Well, and all I was going to say is they need a guy who can distribute the ball, and that sure as shit ain't Russell Westbrook.
No. I do think what's happened here, though, is we've gone from, okay, let's see if Russ will stay, because obviously he's going to stay now, which is a surprise. I mean, it's not surprised he stink. I kind of, Durant acting so happy about Golden State after last season, I kind of thought maybe that it had changed. Because I always thought when he signed with Golden State, like, let's see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, and maybe I win my championship, and I just don't feel comfortable, I'll go back to Oklahoma City if Russell leaves. But he seems so comfortable and so happy, and then more and more it seemed like Russ might stay, even if he tests the open market, that he might just stay with the Thunder. It just became almost a foregone conclusion. I thought that Russ was going to stay. It's just that I didn't expect him to sign a year ahead of time. But he got what he wanted, and I think, well, look, he got what he wanted. What's he going to do? Nobody else is going to give him that money. So, but I think what's happened is now it's not about Russ staying. Now it's about if these three can play together somehow, okay, and be productive together, then it's like, all right, we keep this together and we fill in the pieces. We have it. That's what this season's going to be about, is can we play together, make this work together, and then, because they're not going to win a championship with this team as it is. They're not. Are they going to be better than last year? Oh yeah, they're gonna be like a 3 or 4. Okay, but how did they make that next jump? Okay, they got to play together. If they play together, then they look at and say, what do we need? In the offseason, you go fill in the rest of that roster, filter everything through, and then say, all right, next year we go for it. That's what you do. So this is a test year for Golden State to see. I'm not Golden State, Oklahoma City, to see if this works. If it doesn't, what part of it isn't working? You take that part of it and you trade it off. If it's George, it's George. If it's Anthony, it's Anthony. You can't trade Russ. Russ is untradeable now. You're stuck with him. So because nobody's going to take that contract. So you committed to Russell Westbrook. Okay. But the other two, you have to decide. And if it doesn't work, one of those two is the reason why, in your estimation, you move one of them out. If they both don't work, then maybe you move both of them out and you just rebuild the entire team. But we'll see. So that's what next season is going to be about for the Thunder. But it did take a lot of people by surprise that he did re-up so quickly. Definitely. All right, that's it. We got through everything. Woohoo! All right, so with that being said, we are done for the night. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to the show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send in your feedback. It's very important that you do. Feedback is very important to us. Keep sending it in, please, if you could. Topic ideas or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, wrestling they want us to cover. Questions about the show and the scheduling of the show. Topic ideas. General questions about the show, reactions or comments on things we talked about in the show, things we said. Any things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything to tweet regarding our show. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure you like our fan page once you're on it or once you find it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about the show, especially when it comes to scheduling. Obviously, if there's something we know about that's coming, we'll let you know in advance. But sometimes last-minute postponements and delays can happen, i.e. what happened last night. So you want to make sure that you follow us on social media to make sure you get access to that information and keep up to date on all the latest updates about the show. We also post random thoughts and musings on there as well. So make sure that you follow us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, to search for In the Spotlight 401, and then make sure that you follow us. and like us so that you can have access to all the information along with everything else we post, and you'll be up to date and all that good stuff. If you'd like to keep up with the show or look back at classic episodes, you have two ways in which to do that. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411, and you'll be taken to our show pages on both those sites, where you'll have access to every episode we've ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015 all the way up into tonight's episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want. Just check them out by searching for In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll be able to stream those episodes. If you'd like to look back at older episodes, if you're interested in, instead of streaming us, maybe you're interested in listening to us on the go or just listening to us in general, maybe you just don't like seeing us on screen, whatever the case may be, you can check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites, and once you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode we've done in nearly 7 years we've been doing the show. That's every episode from original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. Everything from our talk show run from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015. And of course, all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes, every episode from mid-October 2015 all the way up into tonight's episode, current episode that we're airing right now. All those episodes in order from the most recent to the oldest. All of our Google Plus YouTube episodes transferred to audio format for your convenience. All those episodes available for you just to listen to on the go or listen to anytime you want. Whether you want to check out an episode from 4 or 5 years ago, maybe you're a long-time fan, let's check out one of those episodes, or a new fan, check out an episode like that for the first time. Keep up with current episodes, look back at an episode again, listen to it again, miss a part of an episode. If any of that applies to you, you can do all that on Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, always keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, always to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites, and you'll be able to do all that and more. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
It is officially time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat my back. And thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening to this later, thank you to you as well. We have another show, and that is tomorrow, and that will be one of our normal nights. Entertainment, box office beat. We continue our fall TV report card. Wrestling, got a lot of wrestling to get to. Raw, SmackDown, some big NXT news from tonight, which we'll get into. We'll go over all the matches for this week's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, preview it, go over all the matches, make predictions. And if we have some time for questions and comments, we'll do some of those. Again, if you want to send them in before the show or during the show, you can do that by email, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. So we'll have a lot to do tomorrow. So entertainment, wrestling combo show tomorrow. We'll obviously update you throughout the show tomorrow on all the MLB playoff games. So all that coming at you on tomorrow's show. So make sure you do not miss it. Until tomorrow night, I hope you all have a great rest of your night and a great day tomorrow. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at our normal time. Going back to our normal time, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Until then, have a good night, everybody.